Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Experts say technology has deeply affected the global economy. Its usage, they argued, has also led to marketplace transformation, improved living standards, and more robust international trade. The rapid increase and usage of information and communication technology (ICT) in Nigeria is believed to be enhancing productivity and boosting the Nigerian economy. The pervading effect of COVID-19, however, is reported to be slowing down the economy, not just in Nigeria, but globally. As a way out, experts point to the digital economy. The federal government, in its wisdom, embraced this transformational process and created a full-fledged Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. What are Nigeria's reasons for the digital economy drive? How does the digital economy work? And so far, what are its contributions to the country's total economy? What are the advantages and disadvantages? These issues and more are our focus on this edition of Platform with Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. Before his appointment as Minister in 2019, Dr. Pantami was the Director General, National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDDA. He was an Associate Professor of Computer Information Systems at the International Islamic University of Medina, Saudi Arabia. He holds a PhD in Computer Information System from Robert Gordon University, Aberdeen, Scotland. He also holds a Master of Science degree in Computer Science and Master of Business Administration in Technology Management and a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Technology degree in Computer Science. Dr. Isa Ali Pantami is also an Islamic scholar who is famous for his memorization of the Holy Quran and preachings. Indeed, his high retentive memory is reported to have earned him various nicknames: Super Guru, Reservoir of Knowledge, the Father of Economics, including Return to Sender. Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, welcome to Platform.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you.
On the panelist corner is Ruth Aguele.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Isa Ali Pantami, welcome once again. We will begin from the softer side, as they say. Super Guru, Reservoir of Knowledge, Father of Economics, Return to Sender. These nicknames, we are told, were given to you because of your high retentive memory. How has this facilitated your studies in computer science and the Holy Quran?
Thank you very much for having me here to be with you on this platform. I think the last time I had the same privilege of being with you here, it was in 2017 while I was the DG of NITDA. Secondly, you asked me one of the most difficult questions to answer, particularly anything related to my personality. It's difficult for me to comment much on it. I am grateful to Almighty. I read things easily, I memorize them easily, and I recall them whenever the need arises. When you are blessed with that, the best thing for you to do is to try to maximize and utilize your time and the benefits to achieve from that. I studied the glorious Quran, as you earlier asked, based on the guidance of my father. My father was a scholar, my grandfather was a scholar, his grandfather was also a scholar. So this is something that we inherited. And secondly, when it comes to computer science, it is necessary for one to learn how to live in this world. If you have an expertise, it will serve as the platform for you to live and contribute your quota to the development of your nation. Wherever I find myself, I try to reconcile both of them, acquire religious knowledge on one hand and worldly knowledge on the other. Both of them are beneficial to humanity, and I always try to make use of them to contribute my quota in supporting the humanity.
Yeah, but there's this aspect of the question, which one helped which? Is it the Holy Quran that helped you to study computer science or the other way around?
Yeah, I started learning the glorious Quran at the age of 3. And I spent almost 4 years acquiring the knowledge of the Quran before I even joined primary school. Because of this, I could say the foundation is that religious knowledge. And I had the privilege of acquiring the worldly knowledge on it.
Now let's go to the issues. As Director General of NIDA, you came up with the strategic roadmap to transform Nigeria's IT sector 2017 to 2020. Could this have been a springboard that helped you to come up with the National Digital Economy Policy?
Yeah, I was appointed as the DG of NIDA on 26 September 2016, and I was supposed to serve for 4 years for my first tenure. Last year, our boss President Muhammadu Buhari nominated me to be a minister in his cabinet. As they say, the reward of hard work is more work. With all sense of humility, my little contribution and achievements in NIDA drew the attention of Mr. President to elevate me to be a minister and also to be posted to the minister supervising the same institution where I led before. The mandate of a minister and that of chief executives are not the same. Based on the experience I acquire, minister, when you are given a portfolio as a minister, it is the president that delegates his responsibility to you. Looking at 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, Section 147 and 148, ministers are advisors of the president. When the president gives you a portfolio, he delegates certain responsibilities to you to exercise his power. So by implication, you are to coordinate and to formulate and to supervise the entire policy of that sector. So being a minister, your focus is more on policy, the general policy that will drive the sector. While as a chief executive, your mandate is not to come up in any way with a policy, but rather to wait for the policy of the federal government through your supervising minister and come up with a strategy on how to cascade that policy and make it implementable. So it is because of this at NIDA, what I inherited then was national ICT policy. So the strategy we came up with was only to facilitate the implementation of the then policy of the federal government. That policy expired. And when I became a minister, I came up with another policy, that is National Digital Economy Policy for a Digital Nigeria 2020-2030 for 10 years. So now the mandate of the parastatals is to cascade the policy as a strategy and implement. So because of this, I can say the responsibilities are not the same. Then I was only working on a policy of my minister and ministry. Now the responsibility of policy formulation of the sector begins and ends on my table.
Now let's go to the policy. 1 year in office, how far so far?
So far, so good. We are grateful to Almighty for all his guidance, and then we are grateful to our boss President Muhammadu Buhari for giving us the opportunity and the privilege to contribute the little we can to the development of our country. When my team came up with an idea just a month to the end of our first year in office to compile our achievements, I was not encouraged, I was scary and I was flabbergasted because I was more interested in driving the sector than just counting on the achievements. However, I know achievements are critical. Particularly, I am more of a result-oriented personality. So because of this, I couldn't discourage them. When they came up with the achievements within 1 year in office, it was scary. Why? Because the achievements were many. I just thought that most probably it's just like maybe someone spent 4 years in office. Within the document, they captured 190 major achievements. Under certain items, you will discover there are over 80 achievements under only one number. For example, we established through policy formulation, we established 80 digital capacity building centers in Nigeria. All these 80 centers have been captured as one out of 190. All the 80 centers that are being found all over the country, 80 centers, only one item among the 190 achievements within only 1 year. So with this, that motivated me in the second year to achieve more. So with all sense of humility, the first year is really, it was really challenging and also encouraging as well.
Okay, now looking at the policy, the digital economy policy and strategy you're talking about. Now, this is very huge for Nigeria because the target is 2030. But let me take you this way, an insight into World Bank Nigeria Digital Economy Diagnostic Report reveals that digital economy can change the way economies are scaled up.
Yes.
And if you're looking at this strategy, part of the policy has 8 pillars. How do you intend to achieve that? Can you break it down for us?
I think we have started achieving all the pillars. There are 8 pillars, as you said. Number 1 is developmental regulation. Number 2, solid infrastructure. Number 2, digital literacy and skills. Number 3, solid infrastructure. Number 4, service infrastructure. Number 5, digital services development and promotion. Number 6, soft infrastructure. Number 7, digital society and emerging technologies. Number 8, indigenous content development and promotion. These are the 8 pillars we have captured. And we have started the implementation of all these 8 pillars. For example, developmental regulation. Some of the parastatals we supervise are regulatory agencies. And what I discover from experience while in NIDA, many private and public institutions do not like regulatory bodies, because the entire perception of regulation is to restrict and jeopardize effort. So we only consider regulation as something that is not facilitating our progress, but rather is jeopardizing and restricting our effort. In order to change that perception, we came up with what we call developmental regulation. That adjective is to tell you that our regulation is not to restrict you or to jeopardize your effort or to frustrate, but rather regulation to promote development. So this is our approach, and that is why if you look at our regulation, the way we regulate the sector is very flexible. We make it very friendly. We come up with policies through engagement. We engage stakeholders, we engage private sector, we engage public sector, we engage consumers and customers. Each and every aspect of the society is allowed to key in the process and contribute. Why? That is why it becomes developmental regulation. We have achieved so far in doing that. For example, regulatory bodies, we have like NIDA. Now in NIDA, because of the policy I came up with, there is an independent department that focuses on digital economy. It's a digital economy development department. If you go to NCC, Nigerian Communications Commission, because of the policy now, a new department has been established, and it is called Digital Economy Department. They are the regulatory bodies. And because of this, part of their regulation, they focus on how to develop the sector through regulation, not to jeopardize or to restrict, because of that perception.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about the restriction. You can't impose certain rules on entrepreneurs, mostly who do, because part of this developmental regulation is to ensure the transactions are, a bit light. The higher the demand, the lower,
more easier way.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't impose that on entrepreneurs. What is the level of cooperation? Because if we're going to make digital economy thrive, it's basically more online.
Yes.
Okay.
I think, as I said earlier to you, I'm only responding to one pillar as an example.
Okay.
In all the 8 pillars, a lot has been achieved. For example, digital literacy and skills. Even during lockdown, we established 2 virtual institutions where Nigerians were encouraged to enroll and acquire digital skills in the areas of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and many more. Within only 40 days, more than 36,000 Nigerians had enrolled in that institution. In addition to other trainings we have been conducting for even people with disability, women in digital economy, and many more. When it comes to solid infrastructure, number 3, if you go historically, you will discover that by the time I came on board as the minister, on 21st August 2019, to supervise the ICT sector then, broadband penetration in Nigeria was around 33%. And if you go back history, most probably the first time that the 1% of broadband penetration was achieved in Nigeria was in 2000, this West African submarine cable. Then that achievement was enhanced in 2010 through Main 1 and others. By 2013, it was 6%. And if you look at by 2019, it was around 33%. But from that time to the end of July this year, only 11 months. Less than 11 months, because starting from 21st of August to end of July, even less than 11 months, we were able to catapult that broadband penetration up to 42.02% by the end of July this year.
How did you do it?
That is because of the policy and because of that developmental regulation. We address many issues that restrict, many issues that became an obstacle to broadband penetration in Nigeria, like issue of the right of way, issue of vandalization of our infrastructure, multiple taxation, as the case may be. These are some of the issues that were delaying broadband penetration in Nigeria. We were able to address most of them. And the issue you asked me, for example, on entrepreneurship, let me come back to it. A lot has been achieved in that area. Firstly, we encourage many small and medium enterprises to go online. Firstly, by providing even domain name for free, like .government, .ngo, .ng, as the case may be. Instead of selling, we have been giving them for free in order to promote them to go online. Secondly, we have been supporting many small and medium enterprises through building their capacity by organizing a training for them, encouraging them to go online. And most of them have been achieving that significantly. And if you look at the contribution of our sector as a standalone sector and the contribution of digital services to our economy as it was released by Bureau of Statistics in the second quarter of 2020 will clearly portray to you that so far so good, a lot has been achieved.
What were the figures?
For example, if you look at our GDP collectively, in the second quarter, it declined by -6%.
Okay.
But that is negative, but it's also encouraging. Because countries like the US, they are on decline by -19. So if you compare with our economy, -6.
But their economy is larger.
It's larger, but it declined by -19. Because if it was larger, it would have been much, much easier to have shock observers that will observe the challenge of COVID-19. Particularly, they are more advanced in digitalization than us. And if you look at it critically, the COVID-19 pandemic was more negatively impacted on nations that are not much developed. Why? Because most of their activities are being conducted physically. But in the developed nations, many things are being conducted virtually, even before COVID-19. So, but if you look at that of ICT sector as standalone sector, it grew up by 18% in the second quarter. The entire GDP of the country declined by that -6, but our own increased by 18%. And secondly, in the same second quarter of 2019, in the previous year, it was only 13%, but this year is over 17%.
In spite of the COVID?
Yes, the contribution of ICT to GDP in the second quarter was more than 17%. And this is only standalone ICT sector without bringing digital services into it. Because digital economy, if you are to compute the contribution of digital economy to our GDP, you cannot restrict only to ICT contribution, because ICT contribution is just the standalone sector. But if you bring digital services to it, then you will discover even the increase in financial institutions will definitely be because of digital services.
Exactly. I think that it's now time for us to have just simple definitions. We're talking to an expert.
Yeah.
If I am to ask, digital economy, how does it work, and what are the reasons for the digital economy drive? And what will you say in terms of definition is digital economy? Because to a layman like me, I would think it's just internet.
Digital economy is beyond that. Internet is, let me say, is the soul of the digital economy. There is no doubt about this, but it's beyond internet. Let me give you just a simple definition, that of World Economic Forum. They define digital economy as an economy that accommodates the entire activities in ICT sector plus all other digital activities in other sectors. So whatever happened in ICT sector, in telecommunications, in the ICT companies, and many more, they are part of digital economy. Then you go to other sectors that are not ICT sector. Look at the digital services that our sector is providing. If you sum both of them, that is facilitated, then if you sum both of them, that will give you digital economy. For example, today, if immigration says you don't need to come physically for your passport, apply online. Because of this, it promotes social distancing or physical distancing. That application online is part of digital economy because we provide the broadband, we provide the digital platform that you conduct, and because of this, we fight corruption, we improve on the precision and accuracy, we save your time, we even save your resources, and many more. If you go to a tax collector and he says to you, you don't need to come physically, just pay your tax online, that completely, the process, that automation that takes place is digital economy. In your bank, no, I don't need to go physically. You just go online, you transfer 5,000 to your wife through her account at home. It's digital economy.
Yes.
Why? Because you don't need to go physically. So digital economy is the entire activities of the ICT sector alone, plus all the digital services being provided by the sector in other sectors.
But you know, Minister, there are emerging trends in this digital economy. How can Nigerians leverage on these digital capacities that are out there? We have a lot of untapped opportunities. Now, before the COVID-19, there were moves by China to convert about 600 universities to digital skills centers. What will happen, you know, if we can achieve such in Nigeria? I know you're very passionate when it comes to entrepreneurship drive, especially youth empowerment.
Yes. As you earlier observed, digital economy is being promoted by focusing more on two areas. Number one, digital innovation and digital entrepreneurship. Secondly, your question is very apt, my sister Ruth. It is because of the fact that I have been agitating that in Nigeria we need to change our focus, particularly when it comes to higher institutions, polytechnics, colleges of education, universities. Why do we need to change? It's because of the fact that we have been producing graduates year in, year out. But still, you will find out that many people are coming into Nigeria to work for us, meaning that we couldn't take care of ourselves in that sectors. Look at road construction. If you go throughout the country from one zone to another, you'll discover most of the people constructing our roads are not Nigerians. The same with building our bridges. The same with rail. Including in the digital sector, you'll discover most of them are not Nigerians.
Yes.
While we are producing graduates in thousands, sometimes even over 1 million annually, but yet we can't take care of ourselves, then we need to stop and ask ourselves a very critical question. Where did we go wrong? And to me, where we go wrong is we get our focus wrongly. Instead of making our universities to be center of acquiring skills, we focus more on centers of acquiring paper qualification. If my son comes to me with a result, maybe WAEC or NECO, and looking for admission, and he gets the admission, the first command to him is make sure you graduate with either first class or second class upper.
Sure.
So when he attends his university, he doesn't think of any skills. His focus more is to please his father, to graduate with first class or second class law upper. This is the focus. And because of this, when he goes to university, he will focus on that. And secondly, if you look at our curriculum, you will discover theoretical courses up to 4 units, 3 units. Practical courses, you will see only 1 unit or 2. Why? Student wants to get second class upper. He will focus more on theoretical courses because there are 4 units, 3 units than practicals, where it's only 1 unit or 2. Because of this, graduates are being produced every year, but we are yet to take care of ourselves because of that skill gap. Beside China, Morocco established over 300 centers for providing skills. Now their citizens travel to Europe with dignity. They are respected. Why? Because they acquire the skills that are required. But in Nigeria, our problem is we focus more on paper qualification than skills. So, and you employ people with the paper and they can deliver the work for you.
So, Honourable Minister, as a member of the Federal Executive Council, what are you telling your colleague, the Minister of Education, so that these ideas can help to rejuvenate the Nigerian Universities Commission, for example, and the various other tertiary institutions, so that the curriculum can be changed?
Firstly, our relationship with Minister of Education is very cordial. Secondly, we have been working together. Thirdly, during Federal Executive Council, as you asked, most of my colleagues will admit that I had been emphasizing on this many times. I had been emphasizing on this. Only last month, we commissioned some projects virtually. Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Rajafashola, was there. He stated that point, that I was emphasizing the issue of giving that priority and preference to skills rather than paper qualification. I am not undermining paper qualification, but paper qualification is supposed to be a validation of skills. So if that skill is not there, and the paper is given to me, and the paper fails to validate the skill, then the aim has been defeated. Because paper is only to validate the skill we have acquired. So now the paper has given to us, and the skill is no more there. Then the skill has not been validated. So I have been doing that, and President has approved the establishment of National Council on Skills, which is being chaired now by the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Even by Monday next week, we'll have another meeting on the National Council on Skills. Fourthly, few months ago, I believe many of you are aware, Federal Executive Council announced that skill centers were going to be established in some selected universities where skills are going to be provided to our citizens rather than only the paper certificate. In our own sector, we are working on a policy, National Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which will promote acquiring skills and give more priority and preference to certification than certificates. Because you get certification when you acquire skills. Yes. You get certificate usually when you attend a higher institution.
When you pass exams.
Yeah, when you pass examination. But certification is just to validate the skills, the hands-on skills. Now, without that, you cannot get the certification.
At the beginning of this program, you told us one of the achievements, several achievements, hundreds of achievements that you have,
Thank you.
You have had in 1 year in office is the 80 digital capacity centers.
Yeah.
How can you utilize these digital capacity centers to make sure a lot of Nigerian youths acquire those skills, particularly the ICT that we are all talking about?
We have been establishing these centers based on the policy of the federal government of Nigeria. And whenever we establish the center or we plan to establish the centers, we allow institutions to come forward and apply. When they apply, we give them some conditions to fulfill. And these conditions are all about how to make the centers effective. And secondly, another challenge in Nigeria is sustainability. We develop a sustainability model where an institution can use the same model to ensure that the center is sustained effectively. And thirdly, we also keep in touch with the beneficiaries, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, to get feedback on what they have been doing with the centers, what are their challenges, what federal government can do and make them more effective. Usually when they know we will approach them, they try to utilize the centers. And sometimes we ask for even statistics. How many Nigerians have so far benefited from the center through acquiring digital skills? We usually collect that report. We do that in order to make them and compel them to make the centers more effective and give access to citizens to go there and at least learn digital skills or do some activities as the case may be. So these are some of the things we have been doing.
What is the funding like for a youth who wants to acquire digital skill in those centers?
It all depends on where the center is, on where our citizens are. Whenever you see any billboard or any sign that this is a center established by NCC or by NIDA or by USPF or any institution we supervise, as a Nigerian, you are free to go there. Know the conditions and the guidelines outlined by the beneficiaries, and they will give you access to it. They may need for your identification, for record purpose. Secondly, what do you want
tuition
to do?
fees?
Usually, ordinarily, there is no any tuition fee, ordinarily. However, some centers are encountering some challenges on how to sustain the broadband, because we usually pay broadband for at least 1 year, sometimes even more than 1 year. But we encourage the institution that after paying for 1 year, come up with your internal arrangement on how to sustain. Part of the sustainability model, if you cannot afford to sustain the center for free, after the first year, you may wish to be collecting a maximum of 20% of what is being collected by the private centers.
Okay.
Maximum 20%. If I am to pay 500 naira in one private center for an hour, then that center for government, as part of sustainability model, you can collect maximum of 100 naira. Just 20% maximum in order to get something and sustain it. But that is the maximum.
Okay, let's still look at the sustainability in all aspects of it. You can have a solid digital economy without digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now, earlier you mentioned vandalism of, some of this infrastructure, which made you to make a move on the critical national infrastructure, identifying them.
Yeah.
Now, what is in place in order to guard and also make provision?
I think on the issue of protection of the infrastructure, which you have earlier mentioned as critical national infrastructure. When I was appointed as a minister, the first thing I did was to have an engagement with my colleague, the permanent secretary and directors in the ministry. After that, CEOs of the parastatals were given that opportunity to come and make presentation on their achievements, challenges, prospects, and many more. All the stakeholders I engaged when I assumed duty as the minister in charge of our communications then spoke on the issue of right-of-way and vandalization of infrastructure. So after collecting all their complaints and many more, I had the privilege of engaging my boss, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, and I briefed him about the challenges. And he gave me the mandate to go ahead and address them. Part of what I did is to come up with a proposed executive order and also a letter on how to categorize our infrastructure to be under critical national infrastructure on one hand, and secondly, that is not just important, to direct security institutions to protect them. After drafting the letter, I was directed by Mr. President to liaise with Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, and I sent him the draft. He came up with 2 observations from legal perspectives. We addressed the 2 observations. And I was also directed by Mr. President to contact security institutions. And I sent another letter to the Office of National Security Advisor. They reviewed the draft and they came up with 2 more observations, which we addressed all of them. And a letter was forwarded to Mr. President in which he approved on 4th of June 2020, directing all security institutions to provide protection to the infrastructure. That was unprecedented. It has never been achieved before. And this is highly commendable that federal government is willing to protect the investment of investors. Many investors had not been coming to Nigeria in the sector. The last time a major investor came, I think it was around 2015 or thereabout. But now, with the effort of government in providing the enabling environment for business through right-of-way and this protection of their infrastructure, many are willing to come and invest in the country. And this is how we will create many jobs for our citizens. Particularly, we have many local content executive orders in place.
Okay, let me take you to GITEX last year, which Nigeria won. One Nigerian startup, Chiniki Guard, won best in terms of artificial intelligence application.
Yes.
You led the team,
yes,
and it was really brilliant from what we saw on air.
Thank you very much.
Now, are you planning another team for this year? Will there be, because that was the 139th, I guess?
Yeah, last year our outing in GITEX was an excellent one. As you said, I led a team of around 10 young innovators from Nigeria. Federal government sponsored them through the National Information Technology Development Agency. I led the team on behalf of the federal government. It was an exhibition and also a competition where you bring your talent and showcase before the world. And any startup that makes sense, you will discover many investors are willing to invest in that startup. From the team I led, as you said, one guy just from Katsina State here developed an app that is called Chiniki Gat under artificial intelligence. That Chiniki Gat is really amazing. If you deploy it in your office or in your store or in your shopping mall, any suspicious activities taking place will be reported to you on real time. It will capture the image and send to the security men at the gate. This is what is happening. If someone, without going through the counter, for example, picks up this pen and puts in his pocket, it will be recorded automatically. On real time, it will be communicated. If someone enters into your office and picks up something without your permission, that will be recorded. That emerged as the best globally. Over 124 countries participated in that competition.
Has he been given the patent, or is it a Nigerian patent now?
It's a Nigerian patent. There is no question about this. He was awarded there as the best, and we received on his behalf. And we brought the team here back to Nigeria, and the federal government also gave him another seed fund to motivate his startup.
So how
and
has
we
he...
are still monitoring the progress.
Okay, so what's the progress now?
The progress is encouraging.
Okay.
Because usually when you come up with a startup that you get that commendation, it's not the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the end. You need to continue to improve on it. Let me give you an example. The richest person today in the world, based on Forbes magazine, is Jeffrey F. Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com. When he started his startup, it was inside their family garage at home in 1994. From 1994 to 2003, he couldn't get a profit of $1. He got his first profit in 2004 after 10 solid years of perseverance, consistency, and many more. So that is why we always create time to mentor startups. When your startup makes sense, it's not the end of it. It's the beginning. You must persevere, be consistent, resist temptation until you arrive at the destination. But after 2004, he got his first profit. By 2017, he was the richest man in the world. The richest person in the world. But look at it, 10 solid years without any profit. But after making profit in 2004, by 2017, within 13 years, he became the richest personality in the world. This during COVID-19 pandemic, just to show to you how digital economy becomes very relevant. Within 24 hours, only within 24 hours, he generated a profit of over 16 billion USD. 16 billion USD within 24 hours only.
So this is a young man from Katsina. I know you've been monitoring him.
Yeah.
So at what point will you say, or can you, because as a computer scientist you can project, at what point will he begin to reap the benefits of his sweat?
Firstly, it all depends on him. On him to be consistent, to be very patient, steadfast, and also to engage himself more in critical thinking, analytical thinking, creativity, and many more. And secondly, it depends on us, the support and the mentorship we give him. This is very important because ordinarily, a young startup cannot be successful without mentorship.
Yes.
It's impossible. So that mentorship is to make you to be more steadfast, to be more patient, to be more consistent, to be more critical in your thinking, and many more.
But you know, Minister, there are a lot of Chineke guards, the likes of Chineke guards out there, a lot of brilliant, talented young Nigerians who are doing so much, you know, in terms of even application generation and all of that. What is in place for people like that who don't have the opportunity, you know, to come forward and showcase what they can do?
Let me marry the two answers together because I'm yet to learn.
Okay, sorry about
If he remains very consistent, maybe in the next 5 to 7 years, something meaningful that will be accepted globally as a platform could emerge. Firstly, it depends on him. And two, it depends on us on mentorship. Let me give you an example of mentorship. When Mark Zuckerberg, at the age of 19, came up with his own startup of Facebook, he was confronted by many companies that were willing to purchase the startup. And he was willing to release it for them, looking at the quantum money they were willing to give him. But at the end, he said, let me think whether I need to ask for more money. Instead of taking decision by himself, he decided to contact Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the co-founder of our Apple company. So he contacted him about releasing the startup to some companies. He said, no, don't do that. He was disturbed. How can you stop me from doing that? He's asking for the reason. He said, I don't need to tell you. He only told him 3 words. He said, travel, disconnect, and reflect. So he traveled from the US to India. He disconnected from people and he reflected. Without consulting anybody, he decided not to sell the company. As of 4 weeks ago, he was the 3rd richest person in the world. He was overtaken by Elon Musk of SpaceX only 2 weeks ago. And only last week I read he has overtaken Elon Musk again. Look at him. He became a billionaire at the age of 24. Why? Because of that mentorship. Only 3 words. Travel, disconnect, and reflect. That was enough for him. And that was the secret behind his success. And today, within an hour, he gets a profit. Within only 5 minutes, he gets a profit more than what that company proposed for him.
So how do you
That is what I
marry
say
it?
mentorship. So, secondly, what we have been doing here, you say, for many startups.
Yes.
The way Chineke GAT emerged in Nigeria is not through selection, but through a very rigorous competition.
Okay.
We place an advert on television newspapers that any young Nigerian who has an innovative idea and he started building on it, this portal is open for competition. We open a portal. Over 660 Nigerians applied. From that, we set up a team, an independent team of experts, where they review all the submissions. They narrow down to around 115. And all 115 were given the same privilege to come and make presentation. And in the course of them, when they were invited to Abuja, we took care of them, including their accommodation, feeding, transport, and everything. From that competition or that selection process, 10 of them emerged. And the 10 that emerge as the best, firstly, what we do, each zone is given at minimum of 1 slot out of 6. Each zone of the country out of 6. Then 4 of them were specifically open for all the best. Why we say each zone is given 1? To give that privilege of identifying the best from each zone. Because otherwise, you will continue to create gap instead of bridging the gap.
Yes.
So a minimum of 1 slot to southeast, 1 to southwest, south-south, northeast, northwest, north central. And later on, we allocated another 1 to Abuja, an additional 1 to Lagos. Then the remaining 2 were left open for all to apply. So the 2 among them, the remaining, were selected without consideration to any other zone.
Any geography.
Yeah. This is what actually happened. So this is ongoing. We are planning, it all depends on the guidelines of COVID-19. Initially, GITEX 2020 was supposed to take place in October this year, but it's not practically possible. We are in touch with the organizers. it has been pushed to December 2020. It all depends. If the situation allows, the participation will be physically. If the situation doesn't allow, most probably some activities will be stepped down and few can be conducted virtually.
Honorable Minister, you'll be surprised that our time is far been spent, but there are some critical questions that will very, very quickly, I think, demand answers from you. For example, Nigeria's low ranking and low IT impact across the public and private sector. In 2016, out of 193 countries, Nigeria was 143rd. We don't know what it is now. Certainly, your ministry must be doing something about that. And of course, the issue of service providers, even though one of your agencies, the NCC, is directly in charge.
Yes.
But as the minister, there was some altercation that you have had, and we want you to look at those issues and very quickly answer to them.
Firstly, on the global ranking, I will say what you have mentioned is not the recent ranking.
Yes, that's what I said. It's 2016.
Yeah, it's 24 years ago, which the situation has completely changed now. Because in 2016, even broadband penetration was not up to 20% in Nigeria. So when you don't have broadband penetration, you don't think of infrastructure. But now the penetration, maybe by end of August, it could be more than 43%, no doubt about this. But we are waiting for the result to be released. By end of August, that is last month this year. So we do hope that with that broadband penetration, our ranking will go higher. Secondly, we have not been fair to ourselves as a nation when it comes to global ranking. Usually, global institutions during ranking, they only go line and see the record that is available there. In Nigeria, we don't put our achievements and our records online, except very few institutions. Whatever is available there is what they will pick up and rank you with. Sometimes the record available could be for 2015. So whatever they get there is what is going to be computed. Because of this, I engaged Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Hajia Zainab Shamsuna, on the need of reviewing even what NBC has been doing. Their effort is commendable. They have been very consistent in trying to come up with statistics quarterly, in spite of financial constraint they have been going through. I say we need to sit down and see how some key sectors will play a significant role during data collection to ensure that we provide sufficient data for NBS to conduct their own research and come up with the statistics. Because if that is missing, it's difficult. For example, I will just sit down as a minister supervising a sector, secondly, or as a chief executive before becoming a minister. Result will be released without consulting you. And you are the regulator of the sector, and you are the custodian of that information. And when you ask for the report, you will discover many things were missing in the course of data collection. So because of this, we want to ensure that NBS will remain independent as it is. However, we need to be given that fair hearing to make submission, and also they may wish to go further and validate our submission and come up with the statistics.
Well, why wouldn't NBS involve the agencies in its data collection?
Maybe they have been doing that. You know, some of our nature, maybe there could be only 1 week. Some institutions may not reply on time. Some they may not even wish to reply them. Some they may not be contacted, as the case may be. I will not preempt. Since I have contacted the minister and I know she is working on that, when that is ready, we will make sure that all the major sectors play a critical role by submitting their achievements and the journey so far for MBS to validate and consider in their reports. When it comes to the second issue on the quality of service, some of the issues we have addressed now are related to quality of service. And for sure, in most of our states, the quality of service increased. However, there are some challenges in other places, but it increased. Firstly, the issue of vandalization, that of critical national infrastructure. Whenever there is vandalization of infrastructure in any place, it will definitely affect the quality of service. For example, from Abuja here to Lafia or Akwanga, there was a time some of our fiber optics were vandalized. jury road construction. That affected the quality of service badly. Some people will argue as a layman, so if that is cut off, why there is service? There should be cut off of service. It's not like this. What is happening, when there are 5 cables in one place, then you cut off 2. The service will not stop. What will happen, the traffic from these 2 that are cut off will come and follow the remaining 3.
Then
So
it
there
drags.
is, yeah, so because of this, you will see there is hold up. This is, it's just like maybe there is a road accident on one lane. So for those going and coming to and fro, so it will affect the traffic. So that is what is happening.
Honorable Minister, I'm told our time is...
And the second one is power. Most of the facilities are world-class facilities of ICT. When they are deployed, they are supposed to be powered by national grid. Today, in telecommunications sector, through maintaining facilities, every day, more than 32,000 generators are being used. A facility to be powered by national grid is being powered today by generator. What do you expect to happen?
Honorable Minister, we may have to leave it there. My director is saying our time is up. Certainly, it appears you may have to come back. That we have not exhausted all the achievements. We dealt with only the...
It is my pleasure to be invited next time.
Exactly. Thank you so much for coming, Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. It's been a lot of achievements, and I think we are very proud of you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Ruth Aguele, thank you for the incisive questions.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria's digital economy and its contributions to the country's total economy was our focus on this edition of Platform. Dr. Isa Ali Pontami, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, our guest, explained the reasons for Nigeria's digital economy drive. He said it is work in progress and noted that with continued usage of the information and communication technology, productivity will be on the increase and Nigeria's economy will be greatly enhanced. That's the Platform. I am Muhammad Kuda Abubakar. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.